Okay, just so y'all know, I have a cold, so don't mind me if I sniffle a little bit in between this video, so let's go. Hey guys, what's up? My name is Kiya Boyd. Welcome back to my channel. Nice to see you all again. For those of you who are returning subscribers, thank you so much. I really appreciate you watching my videos. For those who are new, why don't you go ahead and hit that subscribe button right now just to get, more videos from me. So, I have a lot of people asking me, how did I learn Korean and what's the fastest way to learn Korean? And if I'm going to be truly honest, I'd say that there is no fastest way to learn Korean. There is no way that's just gonna make you magically learn Korean. I'd rather make this video honest instead of like BSing all y'all and making y'all think like if you just do this and do that, you're gonna learn Korean like overnight. Like that's not how it works. It took me years to learn Korean. After learning how to read, and I would practice writing a lot just because, well, I like writing, so that's nothing new to me. After I got the hang of that, then that's when I started to read, actual words more, and then read sentences, and then be able to read paragraphs, and so on and so forth. But I'm gonna share my tips and give you all the info that I have on how I ended up learning Korean. Don't get me wrong, I don't think I'm fluent. And I say that too because I can't talk about politics. Number one, because I'm just really not interested in politics in general. And then number two, it's not something that you necessarily converse about in everyday life. So I'll learn political words and then I forget them just as quickly because I'm not using them all the time. Yes, I can speak Korean, understand Korean, but I feel like for me, I still have a long way to go. I can communicate, I can do what I need to do, daily life. I can have conversations, do all these things. Anyways, I just say that you need to be practicing it as often as you can because practicing your Korean is how you'll keep on that level of speaking. In the order of which it goes, it's reading, speaking. Speaking and reading are kind of tied for me because those two are so important and they go hand in hand. Listening, because you need to know what everybody is saying, you need to understand that. And then writing. Reading, speaking, listening, and writing. Writing is dead last for me because it's, unless you're like a student or unless this is like something that's super important to you to write in Korean, then that's where you want to change your priorities there. So anyways, let's move on to how you can learn Korean in a faster pace, or something that'll kind of put you in the right direction to be motivated to speed up your Korean learning process. Because learning a language is difficult. Regardless of what language it is, Korean is one of the harder languages to learn. For me, I feel like learning vocab was no problem. Pronunciation, that's something that I feel like if this is not your native language, everyone struggles with. And from time to time, I struggle with certain words of pronunciation, like how to say them exactly like a native speaker would, but I'm not a native speaker, so don't worry. They'll give you a pass even if you don't necessarily say it exactly how you hear it said, Grammar in Korean, it's one of the hardest things I've ever had to come across. Grammar in Korean is so freaking difficult. Korean grammar, definitely something you need to strive to take more time with. Where should you start? Starting off learning any language, you need to set goals. You need to be specifically clear about what you want to accomplish. Do you just want to be able to speak it? Do you just want to be able to read it? Do you want to be able to write it? Or just listen and understand what, everybody's saying? Or do you want to do all of those things? Don't set too big of a goal. I feel like when you set huge goals in the beginning, super big goals, it's harder for you to reach them. So you need to set minor, small goals in the beginning. For example, when I used to study Korean in the beginning, I would set a goal need to be conversational in 1 month or something like that. Those, it's not an unattainable goal, but it's kind of unrealistic for the pace that I was working at. I started making smaller goals. In 1 month, I'll be able to learn 300 words, something like this. That's how you go from there. And then in 2 months, I'll be able to make better sentences. In 3 months, I'll be able to be more conversational. Set small goals in order to reach the bigger goal, Small goals into the big goals, okay? So I'm gonna show you the books that I actually used, and you're gonna get to know what I used to speak Korean. And I also forgot to mention to write everything down. Say you watch dramas and you hear certain words and you see the subtitles and stuff like that. If you can change to Korean subtitles, that would be great. When you write things down, it kind of intrigues your mind and you want to go look it up later. And then when you do, you find out what it means. A lot of times it sticks with you because, you went through all the hard work of writing it down and looking it up. And so that's what I used to do a lot. If I would be stuck in conversations where I didn't necessarily understand what they were saying, particularly a word or so, or I didn't really know how to express it better, I would write it down, go home, research it, find it, write it back down, return to that conversation or that situation with a new mindset. So this is my old grammar book, my old Korean grammar book. It's not actually a grammar book, but I used to write all of my Korean grammar in this book. When I would be studying Korean, I would write like all the time. So you see this, and a lot of times it would help me when I would forget certain things and I would be in conversation. And I always used to carry my grammar book around because, well, I'm a nerd. A lot of this grammar in here is a mix of beginner grammar, intermediate grammar, advanced grammar at the back, but you get the idea. This is just the example I wanted to show you. So you want to have a book for every single thing. Like I have a book for grammar, I have a book for my sentences, I have a book for like my reading. Like when I would write certain things down that I would read, I don't know, I would just read it over and over to like kind of etch it into my head. Like that, oh, this is a phrase, or oh, this is what people say, these kinds of things. So that's my grammar book. So for beginners, if you want to like start speaking more Korean, like you're gonna be able to read. Like once you get the Hangul down, which there's so many resources in order to like learn Korean Hangul. So there's so many resources of, people offering you to learn like how to read Korean in like 10 minutes or an hour or something like that. It's actually really easy. The Korean alphabet is super, super easy. That's one of the things that I can honestly say. And when I was in America and I studied Korean at home, because I self-studied for years before I ended up coming to Korea and learning through daily transactions and daily interactions and still self-studying. To be honest, I never really formally took classes until I got with my company and I had a tutor. For real life conversations, I recommend this book. Like this book saved me, okay? Like when I first was learning Korean. So it's called Real Life Korean Conversations for Beginners. This book is the truth, y'all. This book is really the truth. Conversation recordings. I guess it comes with the recordings. I never use them, but you can find them online. Like it'll give you the link and stuff. And then 40 different everyday situations. So this is like normal life. Like you can actually use this stuff. And then over 800 vocabulary words, 80 grammar points and exercises, and 80 pronunciation points and exercises. So this book is good too because it teaches you how to pronounce things. Like if you don't necessarily have a tutor or any Korean classes that you can get to or Korean friends, this one is great for trying to learn on your own. I haven't used this book in a very long time, but I do recommend it. I love it. Sometimes I'll go back and read it just to see like my cute little handwriting when I was doing this. And they have a real life Korean conversations for intermediate as well. This was actually a really fun book and it made learning Korean really interesting. So I recommend this book if you're wanting to learn Korean and you're a beginner. After reading Hangul, at least know how to read it first. Once you get the hang of reading it like a little bit, then I recommend this book. It's a really good book. My next choice would be the Living Language Korean learning books as well. When I first wanted to learn Korean, this was the very first book I've ever bought. See, I have the intermediate one. I have the beginner one. I lent it to one of my friends, but I think she threw it away by accident, so we won't get into that. So it was like a 3-pack, and I got the Korean beginner, Korean intermediate, and Korean advanced. So I was studying the Living Language book. I would wake up at like maybe 6 a.m. and sit at the table for 2 hours every day. Go over a single lesson in this book. And after going over a single lesson, I would keep reviewing that lesson. And I feel like I finished all 3 of them by the end of like 2 months, I'll say. But I learned so much just from doing that. I have one, the Living Language, for Chinese as well, because I was learning Chinese at that time. But then I quit because it was overwhelming to try to do Korean Chinese at that time, and I was trying to learn Japanese. It was just a really messy time for me. Anyways, this is how I really learned Korean, and I recommend this book. And it also comes with like the reading and writing. So if you're just starting out, like beginner, can't really read, write Korean or anything, I recommend the Living Language first, and then the Real Life Korean Conversations for Beginners. So this one helps you practice like your Korean writing. And I actually never filled in this book because I had already like knew how to write at that time. I just kind of taught myself. But this book is a great resource, great tool. All right, once you learn how to read Korean and you've already done like the Living Language books, I recommend the 2000 Essential Korean Words. So I recommend this book. This book has really helped me tremendously. I have the beginner one and the intermediate one. It gives you an example sentence to use with the Korean word. And it's awesome. It's really amazing. I learned so much from this book. Like when my Korean vocabulary and the way I spoke in Korean was just kind of like babyish, I used this book the most fun way I could and just would like add intermediate words to my beginner sentences, and it made for me to want to make more complex intermediate sentences. Worth the money. I'm telling you, it's worth the money. It's amazing. This book taught me so much. I'm telling you, and when you have more than one book, you gotta study from more than one resource, because if you just have one, it gets boring very, very quickly. So if you have more than one book, you're studying from like 2-3 books at a time, you're going to enjoy studying Korean, I think so. Once I started adding more resources and more books to it and kind of like actively practicing, it made Korean so much better for me. Here's another notebook of my sentences that I would write, and I would kind of have my Korean friends correct them. So I would take a grammar point, and I would take a brand new grammar point that I didn't really have any practice with or know, write it here, and I would write a sentence using that grammar point. And I would ask my Korean friends, like, is this correct? Is this correct? Is this correct? And they would correct the sentences for me. But it would be real life sentences that I could think of that I could use for this. I wrote so many sentences, oh my gosh, this is just really embarrassing. This is how I studied grammar and sentences at the same time. So I would combine the grammar, sentences, and vocabulary here, because I would try to use new vocabulary. I would use the grammar point, and I would try to make longer sentences. Another book, easy to speak Korean. So we have 말하기 쉬는 한국어. This book is only in Korean, so again, this one might not be helpful to those who are still like beginner, but I'm telling you, like, if you set a goal to like finish the beginner books that I suggested and then you move on to like one of these books that I've showed you, then I feel like you'll feel a lot more satisfaction and you'll feel more accomplished. But this is a very good book to learn how to speak better. Very good book for speaking. Good book for reading practice, writing practice, different things like that. I think it comes with a CD as well. A lot of these books come with CDs, great. And the last book I'm just gonna recommend is from Talk to Me in Korean. This is a business, a company that makes a lot of great resources. And this is one I purchased called Korean Slang Expressions, but it gives you a lot of the slang expressions that Korean people use. But this is good in case like you wanna just like go from like the regular textbook kind of way of speaking and start to speak like someone who lives in Korea, obviously, or you know, any Korean person who's on the younger side. And it gives you the word up here, and then it gives you the explanation down there of like exactly what it means and how to use it, so you won't be too lost. Last but not least, once you feel like you've kind of accomplished reading, writing, listening, all this wonderful jazz, then I suggest reading this book. Not exactly like this book itself, but getting a book that's like just a Korean book and you practice like you're reading with that. That helped me as well to like pick up my reading speed and my speaking speed. And then I kind of like would just keep reading, because the more you read, the faster your reading speed is. So now it's a lot, you know, it's a lot easier for me. I just like see the title. Before it used to take me so long to like go from one line to the next, but now I can read it a lot faster. So 처음 살아보니까 그럴 수 있어. I'm very proud of the progress that I've made with reading Korean, because I went from baby, and that's all the books I'm going to show you for today, but that is what I use to learn Korean. And for those who are asking, how often should you study? Here's the answer. First of all, you need to be studying at least every day. If you want to actually set a goal, like a huge goal to learn Korean in like 6 months, it's honestly obtainable. You can do it. You can do it. I think it can be accomplished if you are being realistic about like your study materials. You need to be studying at least 2 hours a day, and then have at least like 30 minutes to an hour of speaking practice. Even if you can't speak with someone like in person, maybe Skype lessons would be a good alternative, or to download an app where you can practice Korean speaking. I used to have this application called Hello Talk where I would practice speaking Korean over text messages or over like voice notes. There's Skype lessons. Find Korean friends. Hopefully there's a Koreatown near you. You can like practice at the like restaurants there, or even with people there. There's a lot of different ways to actually use, you know, practice. And if you can't do 2 hours a day, at least 30 minutes. That still makes a difference from nothing. If you can't study every day of the week, 5 out of 7 ain't that bad. Practice, practice, practice. That's the most important part of speaking any language. You need to practice. You need to be on your stuff. You need to have that drive, that dedication, that motivation, because it can really run out very quickly, like with your motivation. Mine did it at first. I think it took maybe a year before I started getting kind of like demotivated. But when you have goals and you kind of push yourself and you make a routine and you make something a habit, it gets harder to break. You know, you got to start somewhere. But once you start, it will be harder to stop. And I suggest that you buy these books that I showed you. I got all of these from either bookstores or Amazon, but that's how I learned, and that's why I'm in Korea today. When you come to Korea, you don't necessarily need to speak Korean. Let's be real, like There's actually quite a bit of people that speak English here. But if you want to stand out and you want to, you know, be kind of like, oh, I speak another language and impressive, then you'd learn Korean. And it'll benefit you in the long run because learning another language is so rewarding. Like, I can't explain it. I just feel amazing. Even saying like I can speak another language, so need to get on that. And last thing I'll say is you have to have confidence. You can't just be wanting to speak and learn a language, learn Korean, and never use it to speak, because that's how I was in the beginning. Like, I would be so nervous to speak to people. I didn't want them to make fun of my accent or my pronunciation, or if I got a word wrong or something like that. It would make me feel like embarrassed or awkward, so I wouldn't speak. But that's how I stopped learning, because I wasn't speaking. So I felt like, what was the point of constantly studying? Or even when I would study it, but I wouldn't speak, I couldn't retain the memory of it because I wasn't freaking speaking. So you have to speak. You have to be talking to someone. You have to be talking to something. There's like a lot of different applications where you can actually practice your Korean. So don't think, you know, you can't have any speaking practice, because there's no excuse. You can practice your Korean. Even if you gotta look in the mirror by yourself and practice, you better practice it, because that's how you get better. Practice makes perfect. And have that confidence. Confidence is most important. Don't care about whether people laugh at you or make fun of your accent and stuff like that. At least you're trying. That makes more of a difference than not trying. And you know what? I think Korean people appreciate when you at least try to learn their language, because how many people are out here just wanting to learn Korean, you know? And I mean that from a standpoint of like, there's so many different languages to choose from. Basically, Koreans will be really impressed, you know, with you trying to learn Korean, because it's not like a super commonly spoken language outside of like Korea and Korean people and da-da-da. That's all I have for you today. But if you want to learn Korean, the fastest way is to be dedicated, to be, you know, motivated, to actually set aside goals and follow through with them. There is no fastest way. You have to work hard. Nothing comes easy. You have to work hard in order to get what you want. It doesn't just fall in your lap. You have to do it. You got to do the work. I hope that makes some of you feel more motivated, and I hope it'll push you to, you know, accomplish your Korean learning goals. Thanks guys for watching. So if you like this video, don't forget to like, comment down below, tell me your thoughts, let me know what you guys are thinking about my learning tips and, you know, just my books in general. There's a fly over there, please leave me alone. If you're not subscribed, again, please subscribe now. Push that subscribe button, push it, push it, push it. And if you're subscribing, also push the bell. The bell is very important for you to get updates, notifications from me, because who knows when I'll upload. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram. Instagram is the best way to keep up with my life, see little stories from me, pictures, posts, all that other stuff. And I post a lot of motivational stuff on Instagram, because I just feel like I'm saving the world one Korea boo at a time. No, I'm just playing. And that's it for my video. Thanks guys for tuning in. Thank you so much, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.